Good evening. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I'm your host, Adam Wright, along with Justin Tucker. Now, we are on to week 5 action, and I've got to say, this season has absolutely flown by. I mean, we're going into week 6, and it feels like the season just started maybe a week ago. I mean, it's been absolutely insane. But anyways, Justin is back. So
Yes,
Justin, he's feels like it's been a million years since we've had you on, man.
I'm missing. I'm happy to be back. Sorry I missed it, but school calls.
Exactly. We were fortunate enough to have CJ to back you up. And CJ did a pretty solid job, but I mean, it's just not the same without our Justin.
Our Justin,
Yes.
I appreciate the affection, Adam.
All right. But anyways, we have a lot that went on in this last week, a lot to cover, so we'll get into it. The Ravens pulled off another thriller victory. What else is new there? Stefan Gilmore was traded. We'll get into that in a little bit. There's a lot of teams that we're going to be looking at on whether or not they are for real or not for another week in a row. Jon Gruden, it was caught in a huge controversy. He resigned over that. A lot of different stuff, but we'll start with the Ravens anyways. And so on Monday Night Football, they fall behind 25-9 at one point. And Justin, I'll let you summarize the rest of the game from then on.
Oh man. Unfortunately, I do not have a Lamar Jackson jersey. I wish I did. But fortunately for me, I do have a Ravens shirt. Let's go. Oh man. A night when we're inducting a Ravens legend into the Ring of Honor. Hello, Ninata. Congratulations. Missed you so much. And to be honest, we needed you Monday night the way my defense was playing. But we'll get to it in a little bit. The crowd was fired up. The Ravens were getting ready. Okay, here we go. The first offensive series didn't start off too well, but I'm like, all right, they're just trying to get the feel of a game. For I think it was like 4 passes, nothing happens. They punt the ball off. The defense gets on the field. I'm like, okay, 3rd and 15. Here we come. Here we go. They'll punt the ball make it like 4th and 10, 4th and 5. They'll punt it, give it back to the offense so they can score. 3rd and 15. They hit Jonathan Taylor for a screen pass, and he takes it all the way to the house. That's not how you want to start off the game. And then Lamar Jackson and the offense comes out, another 3 and out, punts the ball away, gives it back to the Colts offense. They marching down the field, marching. Then all of a sudden, my future defensive rookie of the year in Dafe Owe comes in and sacks Carson Wentz, forces a fumble, and the Ravens recover. And then from there, the Ravens start to move it a little bit, but again, another 3 and out. Then, if I remember correctly, the Colts, for some reason, decided, let's pick on Anthony Everett, because for some reason, he can't stop a comeback. Just couldn't stop Paris Campbell all night. And Michael Pittman, they just bullied him all night. And so they just kept marching down the field. And then towards the end of the first half, they managed to get a field goal, even though, to be honest, they shouldn't have got it, but Marlon Humphrey jumped offside. So at the end of the half, 10-3. Okay, no harm, no foul. The end of the half, the Colts get the ball back. Touchdown, Michael Pittman. And then it turns bad to worse. Lamar Jackson, goal line, fumbles, and then the Colts pick it up and almost returned it for a touchdown. It should have been a touchdown, but it got called because they thought it was an illegal pass. But they did eventually manage to score. That pissed me off. We were down 22-3 at one point in time. I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go again. And Lamar Jackson said, not tonight. Not tonight, not this occasion, not any occasion. My man showed up, and not in a corny way. He woke up feeling dangerous in that second half. Oh my goodness. He threw for over 300 yards in the second half in overtime, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and had a QBR of like 149 in the second half. Lamar Jackson was that dude in the second half.
25-9, they were down at one point. 25-9. Now I'm missing the time in the game when they finally scored, but I mean when you go into when you're that, I'm pretty sure it was the fourth quarter, wasn't it? But when you go that deep in the game and you're down that much, usually that means it's a loss. And to my surprise, Lamar Jackson, when he had to throw the ball, when he was forced to throw the ball, did not disappoint. And the stat line he put up, 450 yards and 4 touchdown passes, that's the type of stat line you would see Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers putting.
Yep.
No, that was Lamar Jackson, the so-called alleged running back, playing quarterback, who did it. It was incredible. But anyways, so follow-up question, Justin. They've won a lot of games in this fashion where they're kind of coming from behind. It's a back-and-forth game, and they're just barely pulling them out. Do you think this style of play is sustainable?
As far as what, coming from behind?
Yes, or coming from behind, close game, winning it in crazy fashion. Do you think this style is sustainable for winning football games?
Well, eventually you have to learn how to come back from behind because you're not always going to have the lead in your hands, and that's something that the 2019 Ravens had to learn. We got a piece of going through that adversity in 2020 when we had to come from multiple point deficits. And so this year, it's becoming more and more apparent that Lamar Jackson can and will come back from a deficit if you give him time to do it. And it was never so more prevalent than Monday night. Down 19 points at one point in time, and he comes back and finishes the deal. And to be honest, he kind of deserves to be in the MVP conversation. I'm not sure where he ranks in that, but I think he deserves to at least be in the conversation.
I think he has about 8 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions, and he has about 1,500 passing yards to this point. Yeah. And that's just passing stats. So maybe he does deserve to. The issue is there's so many players who are in the MVP discussion who have these inflated passing stats to this point in the season, namely Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. Those players, they have it just so much better than Lamar Jackson stats-wise, and I just think he's going to be buried for the whole season. He'll have a good statistical year, but
I wouldn't even say the stat-wise, because if you look at his total stats, it's more than half the NFL teams, and he's top 5 in passing and he's top 8 in rushing. So when I look at it like that, it's like, all right, I'm not saying he'll win it, but at least he has an argument. And if his team keeps winning, he'll be in the conversation, which is all I agree.
So the thing with this team is I'm glad they're able to this shows that they're battle tested. They're able to they can take a punch. Mm-hmm. They've faced all this adversity early on in the year and they've survived. They're now 4-1. But what I do want to see is them to absolutely come out there and just blow a team out. We haven't really seen that yet. Denver, that happened once with Denver, doesn't count. We both have that team as a pretender this year.
You mean the 3-0 Denver Broncos?
3-1 Denver Broncos, thanks to your.
They're 3-2 now.
Yeah, 3-2. You see what I mean? They started 3-0. They went 0-2. They've gone 0-2 since then. I don't believe in that team. So they have team games against Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Minnesota.
Yeah.
I want to see them blow out one of those teams if they're going to show that they're that they can compete with everyone in this league.
I'm not sure if any. I think the closest one you might get to is Minnesota. I don't know how you've done it, but you've convinced me about Cincinnati. I think you've got me to turn around about Cincinnati right now. They're playing
I
better
told
than
you
I
that Cincinnati
expected.
team is good.
Their line
I
is
told
playing
you that
better than
Cincinnati
expected.
team is good. That team is good. But anyways, all right. So the Carolina Panthers have picked up a big piece to their secondary. Stefan Gilmore, who is going to be released by the New England Patriots, he is now a Panther. We'll discuss this more in depth next. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast.
You hear that train?
I do hear the train.
Yeah. Maybe it's just farting.
Oh, shut up. I need the dead air to be able to see it when I'm editing the audio. Welcome back. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. We are talking about some Week 5 action that just happened, and we're going into Week 6, and there's no team that is preparing more for the future in this season than the Carolina Panthers after they just added former Defensive Player of the Year Stefan Gilmore. And so they traded a 6th-round pick. Now he's on the PUP list, and he's not eligible to return until at least Week 7. And so they said, and so their GM did say that they expect him to be back. But Justin, you have any thoughts on this trade?
That defense went from good to scary just like that by adding Stefan Gilmore. Because I thought they were going to be okay to goodish once J.C. Horn went down because that was their first-round pick. So I thought they were a little lacking in corner. Now that they just got this former Defensive Player of the Year, I don't think they're lacking anywhere. The front 7 is solid with Derek Brown, Morgan Fox, and Brian Burns, and Shaq Thompson in the linebacking core. Their secondary is now scary. They have C.J. Henderson, Dante Jackson, Stephon Gilmore, Jeremy Chin, and if he was healthy, J.C. Horn. And if they keep Stephon Gilmore for years to come, that secondary will be very scary, and it might be the most talented secondary in the league. This is a young and hungry defense. And they were, before they went up against Dallas and they gave up that like 200+ yard performance, they were on pace to break the 2000 Ravens record for less rushing yards in the season. And they were going to do it by less than like over 200 yards. That's pretty impressive. So I think this pickup is going to help them in the long run, not short term, because J.C. Horn isn't healthy.
Yep.
But I think it's a good pickup for them, a very good pickup for them.
Yeah, so they made a good secondary even greater.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is a secondary that already looked great. Last year they were holding teams to minimal passing yards and passing touchdowns all year. And now you added J.C. Horn to the mix. That didn't work because his foot broke. Mm-hmm. So that that went off on the wrong foot. And
I
you like that?
Get there. Yeah, I like that.
So they bring in Stefan Gilmore. I like it. The only issue with Gilmore is I question whether or not he will be the same player that he has been. He probably won't, but he could at least be somewhere he could at least be a productive player for them. Mm-hmm. And this is a team that's definitely going all in to try and compete for maybe a championship at some point. I mean, I'm not sure if they are at that point now, and I'm not sure if either of us would argue that this team is for real this year, but you can certainly argue that they are going for it right now.
My thing is, I don't need Stefan Gilmore to be my. I'm thinking like future wise because I'm not sure if they're a championship team now. I think they have the pieces around them. I think if you add like a few more pieces to that offensive line, we're talking about something because they do have DJ Moore, they do have Christian McCaffrey, so they're not empty on that offense. And so when I look at that defense, I don't need Stefan Gilmore to be this all-pro corner like he was in New England. I don't need him to be the defensive player of the year because I believe I could help JC Horn in that department if I can keep Stefan Gilmore around. If I can keep Stefan Gilmore around, I just need him to be like a solid number 2 corner. If I can get Stefan Gilmore to be my number 2 and I can have JC Horn be my all-pro number 1, that is a solid and scary cornerback group because they could just play man and not have an issue because that's what Stefan Gilmore did with New England anyhow. And if JC Horn, who is a man corner, is allowed to be able to do that, yeah, God bless you. That's going to be a tough defense to pass against, and it's a tough defense to run against already. They have the potential to be a very good defense in the future, like an all-time great defense, if everybody stays healthy.
Exactly, and it seems that people have lost this ideology, but defense is the key to winning championships in this league. Like if you can pair up a good offense with a great defense, then you're going to win games once January comes around. And now that they have that, this is a team that can certainly be in the mix to make the postseason and go deep if they're able to put it all together. I'm not sure if I'm sold on them just yet, but we'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. Anyways, we do have a bonus fan box segment for you guys. So I put out a little breaking news edition to the Fumblerooski fan box when we received the news that Gilmore was going to be either traded or released. And obviously, to my luck, he ended up being signed within just a few hours, traded within a few hours. But we'll go through it anyways because we like hearing your opinions. But we're going to get right into that right now. And so leading off, so CJ, who was on our show for a couple episodes, filling in for Justin, I forgot the expression, but he hit on this perfectly. Carolina Panthers. Got it perfectly. Mm-hmm. And this was before it even happened. But yeah, he got that right. Patrick Willever, 22. He said, Jalen Smith gone, Gilmore incoming to the Cowboys. So Patrick Willever has been responding to our fan box questions, just about all of them. And if you haven't figured it out yet, yeah, he's a Cowboys fan. But I mean, that wouldn't have been a bad idea. It made sense, right?
It makes sense, but they don't really need him the way Trayvon Diggs is playing right now. I mean, my goodness, he has 6 picks already.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You put Gilmore opposite Trayvon Diggs, and then you have a shutdown secondary right there.
Yeah.
Because right now it's the scheme for picking apart Dallas's defense isn't too complicated. It's just throw wherever Trayvon Diggs isn't. And I'm sure they don't have bums over there, but Trayvon Diggs is the superstar of that secondary. And if you add Gilmore to that, then it's going to be hard to throw where those two aren't.
But again, if they're not throwing towards them, they're probably just going to double whoever they're not throwing wherever Trayvon Diggs isn't, and so the safety's just going to rotate to that side, and it won't be the easiest thing in the world to get completions. And if Trayvon Diggs is just locking down the other receiver, it makes it that much harder for the quarterback, and he'll have to just check it down to the running back. And that'll just give Wolf Hunter and Micah Parsons the cleanup duty, basically.
Right. I mean, what you're saying makes sense. Just, I mean, when you have a possibility to get Gilmore, I mean, that makes things a lot go a lot smoother for this defense, wouldn't you think?
That depends on how much Stefan Gilmore is willing to ask. I mean, how much he wants, because he's still a free agent after this season.
Right, but I'm talking about for like this season.
I think
if he stays for this season, then like I'm talking for like this year, like how the impact that he would make.
I think the problem is it's either you pay him or he might just sit and wait it out until next season. So you don't want to mess around too much. I think the Panthers got him with the intention of signing him for a longer term. And I think that's how everybody else saw it. If they're going to sign him, he wants a long-term deal with a lot of money. So you would have to deal with that.
Yeah, so that is something they would have to deal with. But if it takes a 6th-round pick to get him in there, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm doing that yesterday. Even though the trade already happened like a week ago, but you know.
Yeah.
So Grayson Mortimer said Packers. So the only reason I look at this and I say, well, I mean, there's no need for it, is because they already have Jair Alexander. And the kid they took in the 1st round has been awesome for them. Eric Stokes, that guy's been good. And they have a really good secondary now.
So do the Cowboys. They have a good secondary, but I'm like, listen, the Packers still have Kevin King. That's all I got to say. Scotty Miller was playing around with him for far too long in that NFC Championship game. I'm not taking any chances. If I can get Stefan Gilmore on that secondary, I would have done it yesterday.
I know, but they have Eric Stokes. I think that was their point of picking up Eric Stokes was because of Kevin King. And I mean, sure, like if you can add another, like the Carolina Panthers added him and they seemed pretty set at corner.
Uh-huh.
But it would have made sense. But I mean, that's a Packers team that really doesn't need a cornerback. But anyways, our former co-host, B Mucker 730, otherwise known as Brian Mucker, said Jets, please.
No.
Yeah.
There's nothing else.
I mean, I'm sure he wants them, but I don't think he wants everybody on the Jets.
Yeah.
But he also said he had two different responses. He also said, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went to Tampa or the Rams.
The Rams, you could see, and the only reason I see Tampa is because the injuries that are happening in Tampa. But I'm not sure Bill Belichick wants to help out the Buccaneers any more so than he has.
Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers, on paper, make sense. If you look at it from like take out the emotions, it makes sense. But the issue is, Belichick's never going to let him go there.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
He let Gronk go there. He's not about to let Gilmore go there. I'm sorry.
And the Rams make sense too, because I mean, if they want to further just iron that defense, just make it more impenetrable. I mean, wow.
You put
how crazy that would be
on one side and put Stefan Gilmore on the other. Jesus.
All right. And up next, Sarah Finnemore said Bucks. And so that's another vote for the Buccaneers. Again, that's one that would have made sense on paper, but Belichick would have never done it. Going on, Jackson DePino, he said Washington. What do you think of Washington?
That's an interesting one. I'm not sure what to make of that football team, but I do like their defense. So I could see it. But again, I'm not sure that Bill would do it.
I don't.
I
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked too much at the Washington football team
football
this
team.
year.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have Kendall Fuller, who's good. Their defense overall has been pretty good. Another one that would have made. I mean, anything would have made sense. Any destination would have made sense for Stefan Gilmore because he's like adding a former defensive player of the year is a good move. It makes sense for anybody.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're going to move on. There are still several teams that continue to surprise us in how much they are playing exceeding expectations, really. But we're going to talk about that next. We're going to have another buy-sell segment. That's next. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. Welcome back. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. I'm Adam Wright along with Justin Tucker. So we have been going on a little bit talking about week 5. We talked about Stefan Gilmore. We talked about the Ravens. So now we have a bunch of teams. I mean, we really like this buy-sell segment. We haven't wanted to get rid of it just yet. But anyways, we have several different teams we're going into, and that just continue to surprise us. So we think, why not? But first off, we're going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys, who continue to play like they're a contender. Justin, buy or sell on the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm buying. I didn't think I'd buy into them, but they're looking pretty doggone good right now. Oh my god. I'm buying for them right now. Once it's December, it's a coin flip, but right now they're looking very good. That defense is looking stacked to the point where they could sell players like Jalen Smith, just straight release them and have no problem with it. Micah Parsons is turning out to be a flat out stud. Dak Prescott is playing like an MVP. Ezekiel Elliott is returning to his 2016 form. That O line is starting to pick up where it left off, or starting to get better. That receiving core is unbelievable. I mean, the Cowboys might be one of the most complete teams in the league right now, and they might be a top 5 team in the NFL. Now, that doesn't take away from the fact that Cowboys will do Cowboys things in late November, December, but as of right now, I do buy them. I think they're contenders and very dangerous ones at that.
So before the season started, we were talking about the Cowboys. I said this. I said if the Cowboys defense improves, if they just turn it around to some degree, they'll be a playoff team. They're not only a playoff team, they might very well be a Super Bowl contender.
Let's not say that.
You don't think so?
Not yet. The Cowboys are allergic to prosperity. We're not there yet.
I think we're getting pretty close. I'm buying in on this team. They're going to be in the mix this year, and I think they'll make the postseason, and they'll go a couple rounds in the playoffs. We'll see how far they go, but that's a team that I really like. They're making the postseason. All right, the Cincinnati Bengals. Buy or sell?
I think I'm actually might take a flyer on the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase is playing like he should, like the first round rookie he is, or the stud that he is. He was a top 5 pick, so I expected him to be good. Preseason didn't give me much hope. I thought he would play better in the regular season, but he's shown to me, yes, he's playing better than even I expected. He's on pace to have a better season than 2014 Odell Beckham and to be on the same type of pace as 1998 Randy Moss. That's ridiculous. He's in 5 weeks. He's had 5 touchdowns. That is amazing.
There's
Yo,
something about those LSU wide receivers. Am I right?
yeah, there's something in the water in Louisiana. There's something about those LSU wide receivers. Whether it's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Landry, Odell Beckham, they all managed to do well in the league. I like the way Joey Burrow is playing. Joe Mixon is a top 5 rusher in the league. That defense is serviceable. And yeah, I think they'll be close. I think they're either a fringe playoff team or a playoff team or like a wild card playoff team.
Yeah. So the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm buying in on them. The Bengals are a team that has a great passing attack. As I told you, I mean, that offensive line, he's still getting sacked and knocked around a little bit, but it just hasn't made that much of a difference because he doesn't need that much time to throw it because there's going to be somebody open. Whether it's Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, there's that tight end who started to show out. I'm forgetting his name. His first name's CJ. CJ Uz.
I know who you're talking about. I can't pronounce his name either.
Ozuma or something like that. But he's started to show out. He can still throw it to the running back, Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's been having himself a year as well. The defense is serviceable. That's a team that I'm buying in on. They may or may not be a contender, but they're sure as hell a team that's headed in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we talked about them a little bit earlier on in the show, but how about the Carolina Panthers?
I think I'm buying them. However, I wasn't buying them as an all-time great defense yet. I think the pickup of Stefan Gilmore helps their chances, either later this year or maybe next year. But again, that performance against the Cowboys makes me want to take a step back from the Carolina Panthers. They are 4-1 after the late win against the Eagles, but again, I thought they should have dominated the Eagles, and they didn't do that. They barely scraped out with a victory. So I'm not.
They didn't. They lost to the Eagles.
They lost?
Yeah.
I thought they won.
They're
I thought it was
3-2.
21-18.
Yeah, Eagles.
Oh, then yeah, I can't buy them right now. I can't do it.
See, they're a team that looks solid, but they're just not good enough so that I could say this is a team I could buy into. I'm not ready for that. I was getting to that point earlier on in the year in past weeks, but the Carolina Panthers, I like Sam Darnold. I don't love Sam Darnold. I really like their wide receivers. I like their defense, but nothing is really great there. I'm gonna go sell on this team. But anyways, how about the LA Chargers?
Oh, I'm buying. Justin Herbert has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. I thought he'd go through a little bit of a sophomore slump, but that's an amazing slump he's going through. Am I right? He just outplayed the Browns a Sunday afternoon.
He looks like an MVP candidate.
Yeah, he is. The only thing is he struggled against the Cowboys, which makes me think, oh boy, the Cowboys are for real. Other than that, they've looked pretty impressive, and Mike Williams has arrived.
Yeah. Yeah. And Keenan Allen looks like Keenan Allen. Mike Williams is finally playing up to his potential. He's a little bit of a boomer bust guy. He's the type who will either get you like 100-something yards, or he'll just get you like 20 yards in one game.
Mm-hmm.
Their running back Austin Eckler's having a nice year. That offensive line looks phenomenal, and the defense is playing better as well. It's finally more healthy. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, that's a buy-in team and a possible contender for this year if they continue to put up good numbers. All right, moving on The Vegas Raiders.
I gotta sell them now. I gotta sell them. They just lost their head coach. I can't even. They're 3-2 now. After the 3-0 start, they're 0-2, and they just lost their head coach. So they're going to be on a downward slope unless they can figure it out soon. I can't buy them right now. I thought, all right, they're going up against Chicago. This should be a win for them, but they didn't win. So I was like, I it's I was buying them, but now I'm starting to like I need to sell them. I need to sell them.
Yeah, you need you need to sell on the Vegas Raiders. This is a team that in 2 straight seasons has looked great in the beginning of the year and then just tanks. And it looks like this is just the beginning of a downward spiral for them. They, I used to really like Josh Jacobs. I don't anymore. I think he gets hurt all the time. He's not a complete back. He can't catch the ball as well. His running skills are all right, but just all around, he's not as good as I thought he was. That offensive line has lost a lot from last offseason. They've lost three of their 5 starters from last year. And on top of that, Derek Carr, after the first 3 games of the year where he looked great, he is absolutely tanked, man. He does not look that good. Yeah. And on top of that, this whole thing going on with their head coach, it was just, oh boy.
What a distraction.
That was the nails in the coffin right there. Another distraction. Their leader going down with this. It's just so stupid, but not a team that we like. Yep. But speaking of the Vegas Raiders, their head coach Jon Gruden has gotten into this crazy controversy of these emails that he swapped back and forth with some people that have been leaked, and now he's resigned. So we'll go into that a little bit next. You were listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. You are listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. I'm Adam Wright, along with Justin Tucker. So we are going to talk a little bit about how the Vegas Raiders just lost their head coach. Jon Gruden resigned due to a controversy that surrounded him and all these emails that have been leaked that he sent to several personnel within the organization. And so this is a lot of the stuff that he said were interpreted as racist. There were some misogynistic things that he said. There were all these different things that he's done, that he's sent, and it's costed him his job. But yep. Justin, do you have any other thoughts on this?
It's cost him his legacy. He's out of there. He's out of the Tampa Bay Ring of Honor. He's out of the head coaching job. He's lost his reputation. I mean, it's over for him. His career, his future, his career, his money is done. I mean, congrats. All the money he has now, that's about it. He's never going to get another head coaching job. He'll never get another job as a broadcaster. He'll never get any more achievements because of this. This is a career-ending thing. So this is unfortunate that this still goes on in the league, but it is what it is, and he had to go. See you bye, Jon Gruden.
Yeah. See, what he said, the initial thing that came out was about, what's his name? DeMaurice. What is it? DeMaurice Smith. He said that his lips are huge. Now, whether or not you want to interpret that as racist is up to you.
Mhm.
But when you take in all the other things that he said, you can't give him the benefit of the doubt at that point.
Nope.
It's so stupid. You have to keep. You just. This is the issue with saying stupid things like this. It's gonna cost you your job. In this situation, his life. I mean, he's never gonna get a broadcasting job anywhere anymore. He's not going to get a job as an analyst. His career in football is over. He may not get a job anywhere. I mean, his life is just over. He better hope he made enough money during his tenure in football to be able to live on his own for the rest of his life, because that's what he's going to end up doing. He's just going to be living like this, where he's unemployed for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate.
Anyways,
it had to be done.
Yeah, basically. Anyways, so we're going to move on. The Buffalo Bills, just beat up the Kansas City Chiefs, and there's a possible discussion that they're the new team to beat in the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit more about that next. Stay tuned. This is the Fumblerooski podcast by Power 88 Dean Radio. I'm Adam Wright along with Justin Tucker. We are talking about some Week 5 action and probably the biggest shocker that happened. One of the biggest shockers. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened, but the Bills absolutely obliterated the Chiefs. I believe by a final score, what was it, 31 to, or what was it, 40?
I think it was.
Let me check that there, but it was 38 to 20.
Yep.
So Patrick Mahomes threw 2 picks in that game. Josh Allen straight up outplayed the other quarterback and Patrick Mahomes. So Justin, do you see the Bills as this new team to beat?
No, I'm not afraid of them. If the Steelers are giving them problems on opening day, and they lost to the Steelers on opening day at Buffalo, I mean, I don't really see them as like the team to beat. I see Tampa Bay as a team to beat. I see the Cowboys a team to beat. I see the Bills as a team to beat. I see the Chargers as a team to beat. I don't see them as like the team to beat. That's how I see the league. I don't see like a team that's invincible right now, aside from maybe the Buccaneers. But they just lost to the Rams, and the Rams just lost not too long ago. So I don't really see an invincible team. Even the Cardinals, who are undefeated, almost lost to the 49ers, who are banged up at quarterback. So it's, as far as the team to beat, I like what they did against the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's 3 straight, and no, they lost 2 straight, and then they beat the Eagles, and then they just lost. They lost 3 of the last 4, and all 3 of them are against playoff caliber teams. So it's like, all right, they're not losing against scrubs, but again, some of those games you would think they would win. And so it just begs the question, what's going on with Kansas City? So I blame this more on Kansas City than I would with the Bills. I think the Chiefs secondary is not what it should be right now. That's all.
So I certainly see this team as probably the best team in the AFC. I mean, I had them as my AFC pick.
No.
I had them as my AFC pick during the preseason to represent for the Super Bowl. But as the team to beat, I don't think so. I still have the Buccaneers. I think that team's winning the Super Bowl. And there's other teams that are rising up in the NFC alone who could possibly be as good or maybe better than Buffalo.
What
But
about the AFC? What?
the AFC,
Yes.
I think the Chargers could be close.
The Chargers, the Ravens. I could still.
Not the Ravens.
I'm
I
sorry.
don't see the Ravens yet.
I beg your pardon.
I don't think the Ravens are there yet.
I think they are. If you can tell
Okay.
me the Chargers are there
Could
right
be.
now, if you're telling me the Chargers are there, I'm taking the Ravens. And that's not even trying to be disrespectful, but I see it.
I didn't say I took the Chargers. I think the Chargers are close.
I don't understand how you can just clear cut say like the Bills are the best team in the AFC. They lost to the Steelers, and the Steelers' offense is tragic.
Well, that was one loss.
Again,
They've been killing it ever since.
And so have the Ravens. The Ravens have been on a tear since they lost, and they barely lost in the first place.
But the Ravens are winning every game just barely. It takes all these crazy things that it's like these absolute thrill. Like I said earlier, they're winning these games they're barely eking out these victories. The Bills, they're winning it in promising fashion and absolutely killing everybody in their path. They're just taking the top off of these defenses and just destroying them. So I think I see the Bills as the best team in the AFC. But so who do you think? So who do you see as your team to beat, if not in the league?
Like that's my issue. I think it's the team to beat. I think it's the Super Bowl champions, the Buccaneers, as like the clear team to beat because they look pretty promising right now with Tom Brady under the helm and with Antonio Brown looking like a stud with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That defense is looking good. So if there's like a team to beat, I think of them.
I agree.
If we're talking about the AFC, I think it's a coin flip. I really do. I think it's closer than people realize. Like the AFC is a tough conference.
You can think that if you want. But I agree. I think the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers are
the team to beat in the NFL. I just don't see like the Bills being like this high and mighty team.
All right. So we gave our picks for the teams to beat in the NFL. So how about yours? So we will be moving on to the Fumblerooski fan box. Coming up next, we want to hear from you guys. This is the Fumblerooski podcast. Welcome back. You're listening to the Fumblerooski podcast. We are on to the Fumblerooski fan box. Mm-hmm. So every week we will post a question box every Monday, and you can respond with hot takes, questions, and more. And we will discuss it and give you a shout out on our podcast. So the question of the week is, who is the team to beat in the NFL? All right. So CJ led off, and he responded by saying, Cardinals by default, they're undefeated.
Yeah, no.
I just don't think the Cardinals are. Their record may show they're 5-0, but I just think there's better teams in the league. And if you look at that team, just you break it down, everything is. It's not like anything's bad. Kyler Murray's a stud. They have DeAndre Hopkins, but there's teams with better talent at wide receiver. There's teams with better defenses, better all around talent. They don't even have their best running back right now is Chase Edmonds.
Mhm.
That's not a team I take seriously to the point where we're saying that they're the best team in the entire NFL. I don't think so.
Okay.
But they do seem to be the popular pick, aren't they?
I'm not saying that they're as bad as what Adam is portraying them to be, but I have other teams ahead of them right now after what they did against the 49ers.
I didn't say they were bad. I just think they're just not they're not as good as other teams out there.
I mean, I look
They're
at their
not
wide
better than the
receiver core, and
Cowboys.
it's not a bad wide receiver core. It's like a top
I
5
didn't
wide
say it's
receiver
bad.
core.
You top what?
Top 5 wide receiver core. Because I take the Cowboys and then I take the Buccaneers, and then with what
We'd have
they
to look
have
a
with
bit. We'd have to look a bit deeper than that, but there's a lot of receiving cores I would take over the Cardinals right now.
we'll talk about that later.
We can talk about that. Grayson Mortimer said the Bills. So that's another popular pick that we discussed. Anyways, Patrick Wolliver said Bills in AFC and Cowboys in NFC. So here we go. Patrick Wolliver again with the Cowboys pick.
Get off that
The
stuff.
Cowboys
It's the
pick.
Bucks.
The Cowboys are getting good. I will say that.
They're better than
But the
last year.
Bills seem to be. They're better than they have been in a long time, to be honest. Brian Mucker, our old co-host, said Bills and Cardinals. So right out of the gates, a lot of Bills picks, a lot of Cardinals picks.
Yeah.
And we can understand why they're the popular picks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, speaking of Bills and Cardinals, Anthony Gill said, have to go with Cardinals, but Bills on the come up. So like I said, a lot of Cardinals and Bills. Cash Jurasin said Rams. This is a team I really like this year. I think they're going to make the conference championship.
I'm interested in the Rams.
I think Stafford has shown out. I think that defense is for real. That offensive line is still good. They still have Sean McVay. That's just a team all around. I like the team. I like it. All right. Sarah Finnemore said Pats.
Respectfully, hell no.
Yeah. I wish. The Pats have had a rough go at it this year. And honestly, even if with the amount of talent they have on this team, with a rookie quarterback, even if everything did go right, I still don't think I would see this team as a legitimate, elite team unless Mac Jones, lit it up, which is hard to do as a rookie. But, all right. Bryant Johnson said Bills. So another Bills pick. Mal the Golf Gal said Buccaneers. So that's my pick, and that's Justin's pick as well.
Mm-hmm.
This team is going to be hard to top going into the postseason. It's my Super Bowl. That's my Super Bowl pick, and honestly, I don't see anybody beating them. It's possible, but the Buccaneers have the best shot at winning the Super Bowl. John Warren, he said, "You're tripping if it ain't the hashtag Bills Mafia." So there's a lot of hype for the Bills going around, huh?
Yeah, yes, there is, and it's ridiculous.
I don't think it's ridiculous. I think they're for real.
We'll see.
Anyways, Calden99, otherwise known as Cam Alden, who we have had on our show, said America's team.
Well, he needs to be more specific to that, because if he's saying the Cowboys,
He said it with a star emoji, so it must be the Cowboys. But I'm telling you, that Cowboys team's legit. They may not. I disagree whether or not they're the team to beat, but they're certainly a team that's formidable at this point. And they're beating everybody ever since they lost to only the Buccaneers, and barely lost, by the way.
Cowboys will be Cowboys things.
We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, do you have any other thoughts before we end the show?
The Red Sox are still in the postseason.
Yes, sir.
Congrats to them.
We'll see if they can keep going. I'm pleasantly
surprised. If they actually make it to the pennant, do you count this as a good season?
I count this as a good season now that they went to the AL. They're going to the ALCS, but I still want them to win the championship. I mean, I don't like moral victories.
Man, you wanted them to miss the playoffs altogether.
I did when things started going downhill, and I was pissed off at the front office who refused to take responsibility, saying, "Oh, this team is just not that good. We're not a 100-win team. It was meant for us to only win 88 games." That team was on pace for 100 wins. But anyways, this isn't a baseball show. This is a football show. But all right. So that'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening to us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on Spotify, Spreaker, and Google Podcast. Also, be sure to follow our Instagram at Fumblerooski_podcast to keep up with our podcast and the latest coverage on the NFL. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Over and out.
Bye.